let's talk about tunnels. You know, we use them every day to cut through mountains, dive under rivers. They're these incredible monuments to our ability to just reshape the world. But deep underground, that line between a convenient shortcut and a total catastrophe, man, it can be terrifyingly thin. And it all starts with a single number: 31. Just let that sink in. 31 people were killed in one tunnel fire in Afghanistan back in December 2022. 31 lives, women, children, gone, in a place that was built, ironically, to bring people closer.
And really, that's the heart of what we're digging into today. I mean, think about it. When you're in an enclosed space, maybe miles underground, there's just no easy way out. A little fire? It becomes an inferno. A bit of smoke? It's a toxic killer. Yeah, in a tunnel, every single risk gets cranked up to 11. So our first story, well, it kicks off with a massive failure. It's this deadly mix of really bad infrastructure and just one tiny spark in the dark. Okay, so you gotta understand, the Salong Tunnel wasn't just some random tunnel. It was a known danger zone. Like, everyone knew it. The Soviets built it back in '64, and it was notorious. I'm talking almost no ventilation, barely any lights. The dust and fumes from the cars, it could get so bad you could only see a few feet in front of you. And this wasn't the first time something horrible happened there, no way. It had a really dark history, with deadly incidents happening long before this fire in 2022. And then it happened. December 18th, 8:30 at night, a fuel tanker just explodes. In minutes, literally minutes, the fire jumps to other vehicles, creating this wall of flame that nobody could get through. For hours, rescuers couldn't get in. The fire was too intense. The debris was everywhere. It was only when the fire was finally out that they saw just how bad it was. You know, a local health official, a Dr. Abdullah Afghan, he said something that just hits you. It really gets to the sheer horror of a fire like this in a closed-off space. At the end of the day, this was a tragedy born from neglect. It was, sadly, a disaster just waiting to happen. So that whole story just makes you wonder, right? We've seen how horrific it is when a tunnel fails. But what if the biggest risk isn't even using it? What if the real danger, the truly monumental, life-threatening part, is actually building the thing to begin with? And that question brings us to our next story. And this isn't a story about failure. It's a story of absolutely impossible success against all odds. We're talking about the Gwaliong Tunnel. So picture this. Before 1972, this village, Gwaliong, was basically on an island in the sky. It was almost totally cut off. Their only way to the outside world, something called the Sky Ladder. And yeah, it's as terrifying as it sounds. These super steep stairs just carved right into the side of a cliff. So what did they do? They decided to do the impossible. They decided to carve their own road right through the mountain. And the effort, I mean, it's just staggering. Get this, it was just 13 villagers, led by their chief, Shen Mingsin. And they spent 5 years on this project. Their high-tech tools, 4,000 hammers, 12 tons of steel, and good old-fashioned chisels. Some days they were lucky to advance a single meter every 3 days. The human cost was absolutely immense. Several of them died building it. And one of the coolest parts of this tunnel are these things called windows. There are over 30 of them. But here's the thing, they weren't built for the view. Nope, they were just holes they carved to shove all the rock and rubble out as they were digging. Now, of course, they let in all this incredible light and give you these, well, terrifyingly beautiful views of the sheer drop right below. So yeah, the Gwaliong Tunnel story. It's not about fancy engineering or computers. This is a story about beating unbelievable risk with pure, raw brute force, willpower, and just not giving up. It's an incredible testament to what people will go through just to connect with the rest of the world. Okay, so we've seen a disaster born from neglect, and we've seen an incredible success born from sheer determination. So where do we go from there? Let's look at our third story, which is all about the modern, scientific way we approach this stuff now, the science of safety. Right, this is the Gotthard Base Tunnel in Switzerland. We're talking 57 kilometers long. It is the longest and deepest railway tunnel on the entire planet. To build this thing, they had to drill under 2,500 meters of solid rock. Yeah, this was definitely not a job for hammers and chisels. Which, of course, brings up a huge question. On a project this ridiculously massive, something that takes decades and costs billions,
how do you even start to plan for all the things you don't know? How do you possibly manage risks you can't even see, buried deep inside a mountain?
Well, you do it with something like this. This is called a risk matrix. And I know, it looks a little complicated, but it's basically a tool for, well, for calculating catastrophe. It's how you map out every single thing you can imagine that could go wrong before you even start drilling. And really, it all boils down to two simple questions. First, how likely is this to happen? And second, if it does happen, how bad is it going to be? That's it. You plot every potential risk based on those two things, and suddenly you know exactly what you need to worry about the most.
And this gives engineers a really clear 4-step playbook. Step 1, identify. Figure out all the potential risks and opportunities. Step 2, analyze. Look at each one and ask how likely and how bad. Step 3, strategize. You decide what to do about it. Can we avoid it? Can we reduce it? Maybe transfer it with insurance? Or do we just have to accept it? And finally, step 4, act. You put your plans in motion to get that risk down to a level you can live with.
So when you put it all together, what's the big picture? We've got these 3 tunnels from totally different times, built for totally different reasons. And they show us this really fascinating evolution in how we deal with all those unseen dangers just waiting for us under the ground.
Let's break it down. With the Salang Tunnel, the approach was reactive. They dealt with problems as they happened, and the result was a catastrophe. With Guoliang, the approach was pure determination. They faced the construction risks head-on and forged a connection. And then you have Gothard. That's the proactive approach, using science to plan for every unknown and achieve, manage safety. And that's really the key takeaway here, isn't it? We've gone from just reacting to disasters, to overpowering obstacles with sheer willpower, all the way to scientifically planning for every possibility before we even begin. Our relationship with risk, especially when it comes to digging through the earth, is always, always evolving. And that leaves us with one last big question to chew on. We build these incredible things to conquer nature, right? To beat the mountains and go under the rivers. But in doing all that, have we really conquered the new risks that we create inside these giant man-made caves?